The crowd had gathered long before the wagon arrived. Dust swirled through the dry streets of Red Hollow, a rough little town on the edge of the frontier where people came to trade horses, gamble away fortunes, and sometimes witness things they would talk about for the rest of their lives. But no one expected what they were about to see that afternoon. A wooden platform had been raised in the center of town, and standing on it was a thin, frightened young woman with her wrists bound loosely by rope. Her clothes were simple and worn, and her dark hair hung loosely around her shoulders. She couldn't have been more than 20. The townspeople whispered uneasily. "This ain't right," someone muttered. But no one stepped forward. Beside the platform stood a tall man in a black coat, a trader who had brought the girl from the Eastern Territories. In those days, desperate deals were sometimes made on the frontier, and this was one of them. The man cleared his throat and shouted to the crowd, "Gentlemen, this young woman needs a husband and protection. She's strong, healthy, and capable of running a household. Bidding starts at $50. Some men chuckled nervously. Others looked away. The girl stared at the ground, her hands trembling. Then someone laughed loudly from the crowd. $40. Another voice followed. $35. The bidding turned ugly quickly, more like a cruel game than a serious offer. And that was when the stranger rode into town. The sound of hoofbeats echoed down the street. Heads turned. A tall cowboy rode slowly through the crowd on a chestnut horse, dust coating his boots and hat from a long journey. His name was Caleb Turner, though most folks across the territory simply called him the Quiet Rider. Caleb wasn't known for talking much. But he was known for something else. Doing the right thing. He guided his horse closer to the platform and stopped. His sharp eyes studied the scene. The frightened girl. The laughing crowd. The trader counting coins. His jaw tightened. The trader called out again. $35. Do I hear 40? A man near the front raised his hand. 40. More laughter followed. The girl's eyes filled with tears, but she kept her head down. Caleb slowly dismounted his horse. Boots hitting the dirt. Step by step, he walked toward the platform. The crowd fell quiet. People recognized him. And when Caleb Turner stepped into a situation, things usually changed. The trader grinned. "Well now, cowboy. You here to join the bidding?" Caleb looked at the girl. She finally lifted her eyes. Fear, exhaustion, and something else. Hope. Caleb turned to the trader. "How much?" The trader smirked. "Bidding's at $40. Caleb reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small leather pouch. Coins clinked together as he poured them into his palm. "I'll give you $200. The entire crowd gasped. $200 was a small fortune in Red Hollow. The trader blinked in disbelief. "Well now, that's mighty generous." Caleb's voice remained calm. "I'm not bidding." He placed the coins on the wooden platform. "I'm ending it." Silence fell across the street. The trader quickly grabbed the money. "Well, I reckon she's yours then." He untied the rope from the girl's wrists and pushed her forward. Caleb gently caught her before she stumbled. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she whispered softly, "Thank you." But Caleb surprised everyone with what he said next. "You're free." She stared at him, confused. "What?" Caleb stepped back and untied the rope completely. "You don't belong to anyone." "Not me. Not anyone." The crowd murmured. The girl's voice shook. "Then, why did you pay?" Caleb looked around at the silent townspeople. "Because sometimes the only way to stop something wrong is to stand in the middle of it." The girl's eyes filled with tears again. "My name is Anna," she said quietly. Caleb nodded. "Caleb." Anna looked around nervously. "But, where will I go?" The frontier was no place for a woman alone. Caleb understood that. He thought for a moment. Then he pointed toward the open plains beyond town. "I've got a ranch about 15 miles west. You're welcome to stay there until you figure things out." Anna hesitated. "You don't even know me." Caleb shrugged slightly. "Don't need to." The crowd slowly began to disperse, the strange moment already turning into a story people would tell in saloons for years. But Caleb wasn't thinking about that. He helped Anna onto his horse. Then climbed up behind her. And together, they rode out of Red Hollow. The sun was setting by the time they reached Caleb's ranch. It wasn't fancy. Just a small wooden house, a barn, and acres of open land stretching toward the mountains. Anna looked around quietly. "You live here alone?" Caleb nodded. "Mostly." He helped her down from the horse. Inside the house, he lit a lantern and placed it on the table. There's stew in the pot, he said. Help yourself. Anna hadn't eaten properly in days. But before she sat down, she asked something that surprised him. Why are you helping me? Caleb leaned against the wall. For a moment he didn't answer. Then he said quietly, because once, someone helped me when I had nothing. Anna nodded slowly. That night, for the first time in a long time, she slept safely. Days turned into weeks. Anna stayed at the ranch, helping with cooking, cleaning, and tending the small vegetable garden. She learned quickly. And Caleb noticed something else. She was strong, not just physically, but in spirit. Slowly, the ranch began to feel different. Warmer, less lonely. They talked more each day. Laughed sometimes. Shared stories by the fire at night. But trouble was never far away on the frontier. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, 3 riders appeared near the ranch gate. Caleb recognized them immediately. Men who had been in Red Hollow the day of the auction. The leader, a rough man named Brock Dalton, smirked as he rode closer. Well now, Turner, Brock said. Heard you paid good money for that girl. Anna stepped nervously behind Caleb. Brock laughed. Thing is, some of us were thinking maybe we'd like to make you a better offer. Caleb's voice stayed calm. She's not for sale. Brock leaned forward in his saddle. You paid $200. I'll give you 3. Caleb didn't move. No. The other men laughed. Brock's smile disappeared. You know, folks say you're a decent man, Turner. He glanced toward Anna. But the frontier ain't kind to decent men. Caleb's hand rested near his holster. Then you better leave. For a moment, the air was thick with tension. Finally, Brock spat in the dirt. This ain't over. The 3 riders turned and galloped away. Anna looked at Caleb. They'll come back. Caleb nodded. I know. She swallowed nervously. You shouldn't risk your life for me. Caleb turned toward her. This ain't about risk. Then what is it about? He paused, then said something that would stay with her forever. It's about choosing who you are, when the world gives you the chance. Days later, Brock and his men returned. But this time, Caleb wasn't alone. Word had spread across the territory. And several ranchers who respected Caleb rode in to stand beside him. When Brock saw the group waiting, he realized something. This fight wasn't his to win. He turned his horse and rode away for the last time. Peace slowly returned. Months passed. The ranch flourished. And one quiet evening, as the sun painted the sky gold, Anna stood beside Caleb near the fence. You know, she said. Softly, you told me I was free the day you took me off that platform. Caleb nodded. You were. She smiled gently. I chose to stay. Caleb looked at her. Why? Anna's eyes shone in the fading light. Because sometimes freedom isn't about leaving. She took his hand. Sometimes it's about choosing where you belong. And in that moment, Caleb Turner, the quiet cowboy who shocked the entire West with a single choice, realized something simple but powerful. The greatest decisions in life aren't made with guns or money. They're made with courage. The courage to stand up. The courage to protect. And sometimes, the courage to care. And that single moment in Red Hollow, when a cowboy stepped forward and said 3 simple words. I'll take her, became a legend that traveled across the frontier. Not because he bought a woman, but because he set her free.